you can already see the development of this side under Lionel Scaloni. So all four of us, can really agree to the fact that they are definitely, at this point, from an argumentative perspective, one of the favorites. I mean, they're looking very, very good. My first question, though, before we get into it, because Messi-dependencia maybe is no longer a thing, etc. Peter, my first question to you, though, is what is the Argentinian sentiment of this Argentinian side, specifically now as they destroyed Italy, Copa America champions, etc., and they're getting ready for the World Cup? What is Argentina feeling right now?
I think it's a long time since you've seen a country this behind a team and feel this good about a team, because it's been so long since Argentina have had this kind of unity. I mean, we're looking at a team that obviously have ended that long wait for a title by winning the Copa America last year. That, I think, is a significant moment, not just for the public opinion towards the team, but I think it's also a significant moment for the momentum and the feeling within the squad, because otherwise, every time Argentina go into a major tournament, the thing that's brought up is the last time they won something was 1993. And it becomes this big thing. But as soon as they go out, the drought continues. It goes on and on. This at least relieves some of that pressure. Obviously, it's different. You go to a World Cup and suddenly it's all about the World Cup. The Copa America goes slightly to the background, but it's a big, significant step for Argentina that does relieve some of that pressure. And I think it's just helped really galvanize the public again as well behind the national team. And as I said, I've just not really felt this kind of positivity within, when you look at the squad, when you look at the nation in general, when Argentina plays now, everyone wants to watch the team, whether it's a friendly, whether it's a qualifier. And it's just really building towards the World Cup. And hopefully it's not a disaster like we've seen in recent years. And hopefully they can continue to just build on that.
Peter, from the start of Copa America, and this Argentinian team is really taking me by surprise with some of the names and the shift in names that we've seen from now compared to the past. But from the start of Copa America to present day and looking forward to the World Cup, who are some of the players that have really stepped up for this national team?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key thing, isn't it? Because Luis was talking there before, everyone talked about the dependence on Messi. And when you look back to just 4 years ago for the last World Cup, which was an absolute disaster, and you looked at how Argentina got there, and without question, Messi dragged them there on his own. The qualification was a nightmare. Didn't look like they were even going to qualify at that point. And then as a result, the World Cup was a disaster as well. Now, 4 years on, we're looking at a team that go to a World Cup within that talk of possible favourites, which is astonishing. And it's because of that very reason why there's other players now that have risen up and have become almost as important as Lionel Messi. You look through the spine of the team. Dibu Martinez has become the goalkeeper that Argentina needed for so long.
Say it again. Say it again.
I knew you'd like that. I knew you'd like that. No, we're talking about a goalkeeper now for Argentina who isn't just a good shot stopper, because I think they had that before in Chiquito Romero, who was obviously a key member of the squad for a long time. But we're also talking about a character, I think. Someone, again, when you talk about the relation with the Argentine public, has really caught the imagination. Everyone loves Dibu Martinez, and he's become a real figurehead there at the back. Put in front of him, Cuti Romero. Argentina suddenly have a world-class elite-level centre-back who is able to bring the best out of the rest of the back four as well. I mean, you look at him playing alongside Nicolas Otamendi for a lot of the time. Otamendi was one of the people that people ridiculed previously, and we're saying his career is finished as an Argentina player. Now, alongside Romero, looks pretty solid. And then you move into the midfield, which for me was a big problem area for Argentina in terms of balancing things. And suddenly they have that balance, and they have really important players, Leandro Paredes and particularly Rodrigo de Paul, because those two, when you look at the Copa America win, were just as important as Lionel Messi, really. I mean, I know Lionel Messi was the player of the tournament, and we know Lionel Messi. We don't need to talk about how good Lionel Messi is and how important he is to any team he goes into. But suddenly they have these other players that are very, very important to the 11. Angel Di Maria, another player that 4 years ago, most people would have said his time's up as an international player, suddenly is one of the key men. And then at the top, Lautaro Martinez. So there's now this core that goes through the team beyond Messi that is providing Argentina with this really solid and very, very dangerous 11. apart from Lionel Messi.
Peter, we're hearing that this is the World Cup everyone's looking for, right? I mean, even as outsiders, we see Messi. You're saying, you're pinpointing all the great things that are happening. They finally won a title. The pressure is still there. Is there anything else that worries you as a fan, as someone that knows the team? What's one thing? Because everyone on the outside goes, this is it. This is it. There's Brazil. Okay. There's these other great teams. But as a team, what's that blemish? What's that worry that you go, if there's anything that's going to take us out or might not be a good World Cup, it's this. What is that?
Well, I think you talk there about a number of players, but I still think Argentina are maybe one injury away. If you took one of those players out, then you could say, okay, I'm curious to see how Argentina would cope in that situation. For example, if Dibu Martinez missed the World Cup, and suddenly at a late stage, Argentina were having to put in another goalkeeper, that would concern me. I think I would also be concerned if Romero missed an entire World Cup at centre-back. And again, talking about the midfield, I'd be really worried if Rodrigo de Paul wasn't available, because he's someone who has a great relation with Messi. He brings the best out of Lionel Messi, who in turn brings the best out of him. He brings so much energy to the midfield. And yes, there are other good players around the squad that can come in, and we've seen that. But I don't think they're at quite the same level as those I've just mentioned, or how important they've become to Lionel Scaloni. And if they were to miss an entire tournament, I would have some doubts. And just to go back to also just historically, we are talking about this great run. We're talking about over 30 games unbeaten, but there's always that lingering doubt. Things can go wrong at a World Cup. About when you peak, it's all great going on a long unbeaten run, but everything needs to come right in Qatar, not now.
Yeah.
And when you look back to previous World Cups, you look at 2002, for example, Marcelo Bielsa's team cruised through qualification. They went to a World Cup 18 games unbeaten with a squad full of amazing players. Everyone was thinking they're going to be one of the favorites, and they went out in the group stage. So there's just always got to be that caution there. We can be all happy about being unbeaten for this long, beating Italy, winning the Copa America. It doesn't really count for anything until the World Cup starts.
It's crazy to see that your bench is what worries you. When I look at your bench, I'll take any of those players that are there and see that's it. So it's good to hear from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I really look at this team, I love what you said about players stepping up, key players. I think two of the most important players, and you named them, Lautaro Martinez. What he's done in Serie A is now translating to the national team, and his rise in stardom, his rise in goals didn't just start at Copa America. It really started with his relationship with Romelu Lukaku last year for Inter, getting that title-winning experience. And when you watch Argentina play, a lot of strikers of old, Gonzalo Higuain, Carlos Tevez, there was almost a do not enter this space that they're typically used to entering for their club teams. And that's a space that Messi occupies underneath the striker. When I saw the match against Italy, Martinez was dropping in, holding the ball up. What that does, it draws two center backs out of the back line and into midfield, and now gaps start opening up for Lionel Messi, for Angel Di Maria, for Lo Celso, other players to exploit. And there's just more balance and attack to this team rather than the Harlem Globetrotter standpoint of give Messi the ball and hope he does something special. And the more they can just grow in that facet, the more, I guess, a higher chance they have, when it comes to the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there with Lautaro Martinez. He's been one of the key players for Scaloni pre-Copa America, but it goes way beyond just being the goal scorer in the team. He's scored a lot of goals under Scaloni, but I think that's where you put him above for the national team, what I certainly do when you look at so many great strikers Argentina have had in recent history. But Lautaro Martinez is right up, maybe beyond many of them, because of the fact that he provides so much more to the team. And we've talked for years about the difficulty of playing with Lionel Messi. He's the best player in the world, but some players struggle to fit in alongside him. Lautaro Martinez has never had that problem. And as you say, he drops off, he interchanges, and when he drops deep, Argentina have the runners that go beyond him. And obviously we saw at the Copa America with Di Maria's goal in the final was a perfect example of that. It was Di Maria being the forward runner in behind the Brazil defense and applying the finishing touch. So he's provided a perfect balance to that attack.
Peter, is this Messi's last World Cup? Is it World Cup or bust for Argentina with him?
You'd probably think so. But I mean, you never know with Lionel Messi, because we're seeing him now play a little bit deeper for PSG. We're seeing him play into the midfield and more being a chance creator. Will he want to extend his career much longer playing that kind of role? Because he certainly has the passing ability to do it. I mean, after Russia, we probably asked the same question. Is that going to be the end for Lionel Messi? Because he's hinted at retirement before. It was a disaster. He could have easily said, I've tried everything. Argentina aren't going to win a title with me in the team, so I'm gone. Luckily for Argentina, he stayed with them. And the 4 years have been great post Russia. So who knows what comes after Qatar? Obviously, from an Argentinian perspective, it would be great if Lionel Messi finally gets his hands on a World Cup.